What up, guys? Justin here, Justin Morgan, and this video I am going to discuss how I use LingQ to learn languages. I think I might have done a video on LingQ before, I don't exactly recall, but I have a couple here that I want to go over. You can see Greek is at the top, and that is a language I've been studying for about a year and a half, so I'm, at a fairly basic level. In it, I can have very simple conversations, but once the conversations move on to something a little more in depth, I start to lose focus on it. I can't, or not focus, but I can't keep up with the speakers if it's a native speaker. So I've gone through quite a number of these lessons. A lot of these I just went straight through and put the recording into my playlist and go back and listen to them. Some of them I've deleted out as they've gone on, but I went straight through this, and some of them I stopped and hung out on for a while. And right now, my current methodology of learning is to spend a little bit more time on each lesson as far as these go. So I do have things that I do where it's just I read that day. I don't spend days upon days working on it. And right now I'm reading the book of Genesis because in the Orthodox Church, that's where the lectionary is. So I tried to read about one of these chapters. You can see this one that I highlight right now. It is not, I didn't complete it. I think I went to bed and I was reading in bed and I started to drift off to sleep, so I stopped. But, this is something where I just read through it and, I look up the words as I need to, and I can click view sentence. And sometimes because of the way this one's done, it should just be one sentence, but as you can see, this goes on and on. So it doesn't work very well on some of these things. But, I read through these. If I don't know the word, I click on it. And so, ke o Yaakov orgistike, ke epeplixi ton Laban, and rebuked. So Jacob was angry and he rebuked Laban. So I'll just read down that. I just expose myself to the words and move on. Whereas with the Hellenic Greek American podcast, that one I hang out on. So I'll go through and learn a new podcast, and each one of them are about 7 to 10 minutes long, somewhere in that range. And for these, I will actually go in once I've completed the first one. So maybe the first one I'll actually just read down and add in any words that I don't know. But then I'll go through these flashcards and actually click review lesson. You can click review do, whatever you want to do, review vocabulary. But I usually just do the review lesson. And then after I've reviewed it, I read it. So I'll read that one, several days in a row, 3, 4, 5 days. I usually try to get 2,500 words of reading per day. So you can see I've gotten to 485. That was after one of those lessons. So maybe I'll do 4 lessons and then read a chapter from the Bible, and that'll be all that I do for Greek. Well, that's not actually all I do for Greek. That'll be all the reading I do for Greek. And then throughout the day, I'll also listen to some of these podcast. I try to do between 30 minutes and an hour of listening, which I do either while I'm driving or brushing my teeth or something like that. All right, so that's a language I've been studying for a year and a half. On Latin, however, is very different. I am just getting some exposure. So I read this book, Lingua Latina, or they say lingua. So in ancient Latin, more traditional wording or pronunciation, the V, what we call V in English, makes a W sound. So lingua latina, and per se illustrata. But so in the ecclesiastical pronunciation, which is the living pronunciation, if you go to a Catholic church or any group that uses Latin today for a spoken language or to do their liturgy, they're going to use the V sound. So in my personal preference, that's what I use. But, in this book, they use a different pronunciation. I don't really care. I can, basically hear and go back and forth. But I have completed this book, and I kind of follow the same method, but I expose myself a lot less to the language every day because my focus is still on Greek. And right now, I finished that book and have moved on to the second book in that series, which is here. And I think I did a little bit of this chapter, which I have highlighted. You can see where I'm highlighting it right now. But so there's a lot more new information, a lot more new vocabulary. You can see like the percentages are really high on how much vocabulary I don't know and haven't seen before. Whereas in Greek, a lot of these, as I scrolled down over there, like the percentage of unknown vocabulary where it says like, 61%, 66, 68%. Like in Greek, that was like 8%, 10%, 12%. So it was much lower, so I can actually go through a lot more materials, whereas with these, it takes me quite a bit longer to go through them, but the whole language is still new to me, so I'll kind of follow the same methodology of, beginning a new text, then reviewing it the following day, reviewing it the day after that, trying to add in a new text every other day to continue building my vocabulary, building my exposure to the language. I'm also doing Duolingo's Latin course for this. I don't like to do that on my phone. I don't think that the app can be very great for that purpose, but I do think that there are benefits to doing Duolingo, and that it makes you output the language. It makes you kind of do something to where you're typing out responses. I don't know what this is doing. Okay, so it makes you type out responses. So I think that's good and beneficial. So I do that. I think there is a limit to how beneficial Duolingo is. But at least at the stage that I'm at right now in Latin, I think it's very good for that. And it gives me a chance to interact with the language in a different format. So I'm doing that, and I'm also doing Memorize. So that's 3 things that I'm currently doing for each of those languages. As you can see, I completed a Modern Greek thing for today, but there's Modern Greek, and that's going from the A1 to the B1 vocabulary size. I just started that one not long ago, so I'm about 100 words in. And you can see I have both ecclesiastical Latin, and then I found a course that was specific to the book series that I'm currently working on, Lingua Latina pars not that's Greek, una, I can't remember the Latin word for one, but that is kind of what I'm doing right now, so I thought that was pretty cool that was in there. Each one of those I have set up to do, so my time on Latin per day is really about maybe 30 minutes per day total, whereas, just the readings that I do, each one of those times I review the vocabulary and read the lesson is about 15 minutes, so, I try to do 4 of those per day, so that's, an hour of reading per day, and then I also do the listening, which is at least a half hour, so that's total maybe an hour and a half of those materials, and then maybe 15 minutes of the reading at night when I go to bed, when I'm just reading the Bible. So it's kind of just a spare time when I can fit it in kind of thing, but those are ways that I'm currently building my knowledge and use of those particular languages of modern Greek and Latin, which there is no modern Latin exactly. There's Latin from the ancient world that continues to be used today, but there's no like modern Latin as far as like the what we would call Latin. Of course, Latin evolved into other languages like Italian, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Romanian. So, it does have that going for it, but, as far as like I wouldn't call those Latin languages. Those would be Romance languages, meaning they come from Roman, the Romans, the which is Latin. So there's that. But yeah, so maybe that's a little bit of how I'm using some of those resources, and maybe you might find that useful in some way. If you do, please comment in the comment section below and let me know, and I will talk to you guys in a video coming very soon. Let me know if there's any particular videos you would like to see related to language learning, and that is all for today. Take it easy.